Viewer contributions make local programming possible on WNIN. Become a member of WNIN with your contribution so we can continue to make this programming available. Visit WNIN.org and click on the donate button.
All right, well, thank you all very much for having us. Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Pete, for having us, Lee, for helping our staff here so much, and congratulations to Carrie. I'd also like to thank our staff, and you all met them. I think Shanda Ramsey and Jody Keene were too busy helping out to go register, and Logan Sitzman too. Yes, and so they are there as well. So Jody and Shanda and Logan, you want to give a wave because you didn't get to the registration table. Appreciate your help here. So thank you all very, very much.
I want to tell you how important it is too with being president of Tucker Publishing Group when you work with your wife. That if anything never meant anything, that is it. And I do want to congratulate Pete and even Jeffrey Berger. Where'd you go, Jeffrey?
Right there.
On being Paul Harris fellows. That's a very big deal. So good for you guys for stepping up.
Yeah.
And some of you know that I've been ill, and my voice has a tendency to go away, so I'm not going to say a whole lot, which I'm guessing will not upset anyone here today. The only other thing I wanted to say is I was a member of this group a very long time ago when we first started, and I told Pete as I saw some of you wander in, I won't mention any names, Tim Black, Chris Petruskevich, but I just see that obviously they don't check references and everything as closely as they once did.
Well, but our good old friend Gene Warren doesn't miss an opportunity, and I was welcoming him, hadn't seen him for a little bit, and he said, "Are you going to join?" Like, we have to eat lunch. You guys end the meetings at 1 o'clock. We'll certainly make sure we do that today, and so we're going to take him up on his offer and get that done. So yeah, so appreciate Gene there. So on the occasion of our 25th anniversary, which we celebrated earlier with an issue that many of you have on your table, we did lots of things, and one of them was that our friends at WNIN Public Media, thank you, Tim. I saw Tim here today. They helped us produce a quick little video. It's under 2 minutes that we'll take a look at here first, but I would like to mention his team members, Bonnie Reinhardt, great lady, and Michael Gray, who helped us with this video. So we'll get this video going here.
Evansville Living is turning 25. Since the first issue, Evansville Living has told detailed and vibrant stories about our city.
To celebrate the 25th anniversary of Evansville Living, we spent a lot of time looking back at the people, places, and things that we've covered over a quarter of a century. So to that end, we've given it a new look. We think it harkens back to our original design.
Our photographer, Fred Reeves, shot this photograph, and then we come 25 years later. This is what 25 years of progress looks like. We really wanted to just really streamline it for the reader, make it more inviting.
We want them to enjoy what they're seeing. We want them to be inspired by what they're reading. We want them to get up and go do what we're telling them about, because Evansville is a large city, but also a small community, and we can tell a whole range of stories.
One of our mottos has been that we think a great city deserves a great magazine, so we work hard to reflect the slice of life that Evansville is.
Pop the champagne and celebrate 25 years of Evansville Living, and read more about our rich history in the latest edition.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you, Tim. WNIN Public Media needs our support now more than ever, so would want to ask you all to keep that in mind too. So we do have some slides here to sort of talk through as we maybe take a little bit of a walk down memory lane. 25 years goes by really fast, and our team had a great time. We gave ourselves assignments, actually. I mean, we can't just recall everything, obviously, off the top of our heads. So we gave ourselves assignments, broke down the magazines. Managing editor Jody Keene oversaw this, and we all looked through every word of every issue, which is 151 issues, to come up with a little bit of content that we shared in the magazine in that 25th anniversary issue. And we're going to take a look back at some of these slides here today. For that, though, we have one to kick off, maybe says a little bit about who we are. And Todd, go ahead and say
Some of you all might know James McLeod, Dr. James McLeod at University of Evansville, who does cartoons. And this just particularly struck a chord with me because when we started the magazine 25 years ago, it was very important to us that we tell the good, positive stories of the community, which are so often kind of left by the wayside. And so I really appreciated James with this cartoon because it tells me that he gets it, that we are continuing to tell the good, positive stories. And there are so many out there. I remember after the first issue, somebody said to me, and it intended to be a compliment, they said, "You guys did a great job on that first issue. What are you going to have to write about for the second?" So anyway, stories are not a problem, but I just really appreciated James doing this cartoon for us.
Yeah, we thought we'd share that. We're going to put it in the next issue of the magazine too. He just emailed it to us. You know, we didn't ask him to do that, of course, and we thought it was pretty cool here. So here we go. For those of you who might not know some of the specifics, we're actually a magazine publisher. We produce 13 issues a year. Our staff can sure attest as to the work that is. We're a bi-monthly magazine for both of them. So when we started Evansville Living, we sort of knew that the market seemed right for a bi-monthly magazine, but we really didn't think that a monthly was going to be right for us. We wanted the magazine to stay on coffee tables a little bit longer and, you know, maybe be a little bit thicker than just a 1 month magazine. So we started as a bi-monthly for Evansville Living back in March of 2000, and then just a couple of years later in a partnership with the Chamber, which was then called the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce of Evansville, or Metropolitan Evansville Chamber of Commerce, started Evansville Business, which was actually a project with them to begin with, and then became its own magazine sometime later. And we also publish an annual guide to the city, which is called City View.
That's where I first met that good-for-nothing Steve Schaefer guy there, working out of the old post office. So.
One of our founding statements was, why not Evansville? Why can't we have a city magazine? And so in 1999, when Todd and I were first starting to think about this, I was a kid who went to Kay's grade school, and when we moved here from Iowa, I started a little neighborhood newsletter in my neighborhood, and my mom, who was a teacher at Kay's school, she mimeographed it, you know, that smell of that purple ink, you know, on the copier at Kay's, and I passed it out with my little neighborhood friends. So I was sort of, had deemed myself an editor many decades ago, but was working at different jobs. I was working in public relations at Keller Crescent Company, and then alongside, at some point, I became a banker and worked with Steve Keck here at Old National in the trust department. And I was actually working at Old National, and Todd was selling medical capital equipment when in 1999 we'd been talking about Evansville Needs a City magazine. The casino had come here 5 years earlier. Toyota was had opened the big automotive manufacturing plant in Gibson County.
The new 164 Spur then.
Yeah, 164
which we were all very proud of.
Was you know, a big deal, and we thought, why not Evansville? And so we talked about it. And literally in sort of a stop the car kind of moment on a trip back from Florida, we said, when we get back, we're going to do this. We're going to look into starting a city magazine. We read a book about how to start a magazine and lined up some local support from bankers, and we began the magazine with just he and I. He kept his job initially for the first issue because we needed health insurance, and a company car was sort of nice too.
And money, yes, that's right.
But that all quickly went away. His parents, his father and stepmother came on with us, and so it was 4 employees. We were in the old post office, and some of our friends here remember those days. And we pretty much put the first issue together with freelance design. Laura Mathis, our creative director here, she was a college friend of mine, and I found out she was looking to break away from her graphic arts job with a local printer, and she came on board. And many of you also remember that in 1998 the press closed, our afternoon newspaper, and we ran an ad in the daily newspaper seeking writers, photographers, graphic artists for a new magazine to come to Evansville. And we heard from many names who you all know. And so the first few issues were put together with that pool of talent. And so now we'll just sort of take this little walk through some of the years with some of the content that's in the magazine on your table, and just look at, this is just a handful of things that struck us that we thought might resonate with you all too. Okay, so some of you all are here, and this focuses on television, but Randy Wheeler is here too, and we say the anchor is retiring. You know, we've had many media personalities, but it's pretty interesting to think that in the very first issue, we did a story on our longtime tenured media personalities here, our anchors, and many of these guys are just now retiring. And we thought that was pretty noteworthy.
Randy mentioned to me that he's been married for 58 years now too, which, by the way, so I thought that was pretty cool, Randy.
Dining coverage, you all know we like to eat here in Evansville, and what's a city magazine without a lot of good food? And that's also a bit of content that we never get tired of. So you can always expect to see the latest in food news. We love testing pizza. We always know when a photographer, Brody Kurtzinger, who was in the back with a big camera and is our fellow. He's actually not just a typical intern, he's a fellow intern from WKU. He's been spending some of his time photographing food for us this summer, and we always know when he returns from the office with a bunch of food that we can taste that was left over from the photo shoot.
And my boys always like it because I'm always going to end up with a big stack of certificates and dining cards, and they grew up with that, and they've always really enjoyed that, and even though they're in their 20s, they still enjoy that.
We've really had an eye on downtown since we began the magazine, and our offices have all been downtown. We're now in our 3rd office. Each office has been just less than an eighth of a mile, just really a stone's throw from each other. We began in the old post office, then we were 10 years there, then we moved to the General Cigar Building. We were 10 years there. That was also the Girl Scout Building.
Was it Jan Davies that made us move there from there?
Yes,
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, Jan didn't think we were good neighbors anymore and kicked us out. No, that's not true. The Girl Scouts left and we left too, but that building still stands. Now we're not in an old building, but we're in a great building, just smack dab in the riverfront, the 3-story building that we used to call the IBM building. Now our owner of the building, Alan Braun, calls it the 25 Northwest building, but just a great building right next door to Channel 9, our friends there, and we really have a great eye on the riverfront. But downtown has changed so much since we've began the magazine. At the very early days, the Main Street pedestrian mall did already have traffic, but it was going the other direction. Then along came the Ford Center, and we changed the traffic pattern to go to the Ford Center. Of course, we've now built the beautiful new buildings of Old National's headquarters, Centerpoint's headquarters, the Stone Center, Ford Center. So we've really, downtown is our home. It's where our heart is. We cover the whole tri-state, but we do like to keep a really, really close eye on downtown and share that with our readers. Of course, you all remember also, we said goodbye to an old building during our tenure here not that long ago. I think it will be 6 years this Thanksgiving that the 420 Main building was brought down. And as you know, that was fairly sad for some of us, even though it's great to have the new neighbors coming in now. That building's really coming along, which will be called the Vault. But we did a nice retrospective on that called Goodbye Old Friends, simply because of all of the memories there. And we can't talk about that building without talking about the Petroleum Club, which I know many of you had occasions to frequent, perhaps be a member through the years. And our good friend there, Tommie Wilson.
Anybody remember Tommie there? That's what I thought. One of the all-time great guys.
One of the best pictures that ever ran in the magazine, I think, maybe.
And
Really great picture of Tommie.
Boy, was Tommie proud of that article, too. That was one of my favorite things I've ever done, was hand that magazine to Tommie, because he got all teary and everything.
Yep, you could see
Great
Tommie.
guy.
We would see him walking home on Washington Avenue frequently with a cigar. You know, he was a great person, and it's really been a privilege to cover personalities like Tommie and so many personalities through the years, because that's really what we're all about.
I'd say, "You need a ride, Tommie?" And he'd say, "I'm taking my cigar for a walk, Mr. Tucker."
Yes, I'm glad you all can remember Tommie with us. Homes are a mainstay of city magazines. When we first started the magazine, a friend told Todd, what you should do is give people a peek inside a home that you might not ever get to go in. And so homes are always one of the mainstays of a city magazine. There's probably, I think some of you in the audience here have been featured. Your homes or your gardens have been featured in the magazine, and we're always appreciative of that. We also introduced a number of years ago a concept that's fairly standard in magazines. You've seen it maybe in Southern Living, Midwest Living, and other city magazines, and that was idea homes. So through the years, we were really proud to present Evansville with a number of idea homes where we teamed up with a builder, typically, but then also at one point we teamed up with the city of Evansville and Indiana Landmarks to do a restoration of an idea home on Washington Avenue. And so that's a lot of fun. We did 6 of them through the years. It's been tougher in recent years. The last idea home was during COVID, actually, and it was a beautiful home in Victoria, but because of the public health environment at that time, we really couldn't have open tours, and we haven't done another one since, but we're open to that. So
The parties are great.
Yeah, the parties are great. They raise money for a charity, and plus, the concept, you can, for not a lot of money, $15, $20 ticket, you can come in and see all the local designers and building professionals who have contributed to the house. So maybe we'll get another one going here. Arts are a real mainstay of the magazine. We consider ourselves certainly a friend to the arts community, and really appreciate that we are able to highlight so many local artists. In a town like Evansville, Todd mentioned that, a friend said, "What are you going to cover?" There's never a shortage of arts or arts-related stories to cover, and we just really enjoy that. We've had a great partnership with the Evansville Philharmonic Orchestra, among other organizations, and had the privilege of helping them rebrand a few years ago with a new logo. And there you'll see, we've had such a good string of maestros here. Our current maestro, Roger Callia, is a great person, and we're looking at Alfred Savia in that picture, and we just always really like that. Of course, you can also see the Picasso. The exhibit has been expanded this summer to include ceramics by Picasso, and that's not part of the permanent collection. I believe that lasts through June, I think. So if you haven't seen the ceramic Picassos, get to the museum and check that out.
One of the things that I really like and appreciate is, like, when you look at the arts, is that if we're not here anymore to tell the story, there really is no one to tell the stories of Evansville anymore. And I just think that's a very important responsibility of ours, because there are a lot of great things that occur and a lot of great people, and they deserve to be recognized. There's nothing, absolutely nothing more fun than taking somebody who's done something really cool or behind the scenes and recognizing them for their efforts when they ordinarily might not ever be recognized. And I think that's still what I enjoy the most about the magazine.
So give us your artist pitches, and to that point also, our phone does ring with pitches. Jody and the editorial team can attest to that. People catch us in the grocery store. Dina caught me here today with a story idea, and we appreciate that. So that's how we get our ideas. So pick up the phone, email us, catch us at the grocery store, or, on Main Street for lunch, and give us your story ideas.
McCarty, don't call.
All city magazines have their local pillars of content, and for us, Evansville's war history is very important. Few cities can make the claims that we can of being so productive and so prolific during war times. And we've tried to help bring a light to that through the years. Of course, that was made easier in 2005 when the LST sailed up the river and landed right here on our riverbanks. And now we're a National World War II heritage city. So we love the nostalgia of war. It's just really wild to me to think of, just the extreme amount of production and commerce that happened here on our riverfronts during wartime. And so we, of course, we do have, the War Museum, one of our 5 museums here in Evansville. And so you can expect us to continue to pay tribute to those important stories. The Best of Evansville. And actually, you have a little card on your table with a little QR code that if you would like to take a picture of that and land right on our voting page, you can vote for some of your favorite things in Evansville. So best of contests are mainstays also in city magazines, and we've done that practically since the start. The 2002, I think, was the first Best of Evansville. It's fun. It is a little bit of a popularity contest. We like it when individuals, retailers, dining establishments get behind it and try to encourage voting. So the poll is active now, and that issue will come out in September.
But I'm always going to receive a couple phone calls of a couple people that are a little bit unhappy, and it's like, what part of the voting process don't you understand?
Yes.
But they're unhappy because their competitor is the best of, and there's not a whole lot I can say or
it's not pay to play. It's a voting contest, so it is what the people think. Back to homes. Something that we began just a few years ago, actually, is the Most Beautiful Homes issue, and many of you have that. I think most of you have that on your table, too. We've produced it 6 times, and every year we identify 10 of the most beautiful homes in Evansville. Of course, it's a judgment call. There's many beautiful homes in Evansville, but we spend our fall and winter and early spring driving around, taking pictures, loading them up to our Slack channel that's called Most Beautiful Homes, where we can just archive them in the short term, and then we consider which homes we might like to feature. Jody leaves a letter. She drives or asks one of us sometimes to drive to these homes, leave a letter in the mailbox stating our appeal and asking if it would like to be included. And we love all kinds of homes. You see big, beautiful modern homes, but also cozier, more gem-like homes. The home featured on the cover this May is real close to Bossy. It backs up practically to Bossy's property, and is certainly a lovely large home, but it's not massive. It was built in the 20s, I believe, and is just a personal favorite. So we included it this year.
So one of the things I like to do when I want to get out of the office for a little while is go scout for the new homes, which basically means open up the sunroof and drive around for a little while and look at houses. I can do that.
Stories get us talking. Connecting to Rotary, I had an opportunity, really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity back in 2009 to work on a story about a Rotarian, John Hull, who was a noted character basically in southern Indiana in the 80s when he was basically operating as a CIA operative during the Sandinista wars. He was living in Costa Rica at the time, and in around Christmas time of 2009, or maybe I'm probably remembering that wrong, I think it was springtime, but he picked up the phone and called the office and said, "Mrs. Tucker, I want to invite you to my ranch in Mexico." And what ensued was me going to stay with him for a week, developing the story on his life. But he had a current mission too, which was to bring a viable medical clinic to that underserved area of the Yucatan Peninsula. And then after that, many Rotarians got involved in the project, made many trips there, and many good things happened. Brought him an ambulance too.
An ambulance got sent down there, and a lot of medical supplies. So it was a nice effort all the way around.
Other stories, a Lincoln mallet that was discovered here, really cool thing. We like that. Many of you remember way back in our early years when we wrote about a project that didn't happen here, which was an aquarium. So we do, even though we're covering Evansville's most positive things, we aren't afraid to dip our toes in stories that might be a little bit more controversial, and that was one of them. Through the years also, just simply because of the type of magazine we are, which is local, of course, we're going to have covered tragedies here. And the two largest ones, of course, that had the greatest impact on all of us, first early in our tenure in 2001, of course, we woke up on the morning of September 11. And at the time, Laura Mathis, creative director, and I talked about how can we localize this? How can we bring this terrible new world to us and talk about how it's going to affect us in the coming years. And we spent the next year doing a special story in each issue about what was happening in our area related to the way the new normal, as we started to call it, which was, terrifying at the time. And then that culminated a year later with a special project. Also, the November 6th tornado. We did the same thing and ended up helping a group produce a special magazine in memory of those lives that were lost there. Moving on to lighter subjects, of course, pets. We love our pets. And if it were up to our staff, we'd probably have a pet issue every other issue. But many of you all know Teddy the pig.
Teddy the pig has ventured into our office more than a couple times now, and Teddy is one spoiled pig.
Preservation, that's always something I've had a personal interest in, shared it with our staff. You're looking at just a few of the stories and covers we've produced about preservation. An early one was called The Price of Preservation, about something that was going on in town about guidelines, and it was a little bit controversial at the time. Decay to Hooray was that Evansville Living idea home on Main Street.
Where Mayor Winesapple at the time and I crawled into the building, which was unoccupied, and to take a look around, and there was not much of a roof, and there had been some folks living there for a while, I guess, that had been there previously, and that was quite a project to put that back, and we actually did win a National Service Award for that project, but I'm particularly proud of that. The house still looks great.
Of course, you can't be from Evansville and not have written about Don Mattingly. We're fortunate Don's still in our community. He's, up in Toronto right now during baseball season, but many of you see him out and about, and he does so much with his foundation. Todd and I were just in a meeting in Denver for City Magazines, and a gentleman from Seattle Metropolitan Magazine, the minute he heard we were from Evansville, he wanted to talk about Don. And like many of you all, you know him. I mean, we're not bragging. We just know him. He's someone who's around town. He's about Todd's age. His stepkids were the age of our kids, and so we have a relationship with him, and are thankful for that. Also, Lily King, and great for Lily. She's retired and really went out on top. We have gold medalist here in Evansville now with Lily. And also in our very second issue, we wanted to celebrate two local basketball players, Calbert Cheney and Walter McCarty. And so what did we do? We just called up the Celtics and made arrangements for a photographer to shoot them sitting on the basketball floor of the, what was that? What's it called?
Boston Gardens.
Boston Gardens, of course. So love our local sports heroes. Nostalgia. We all love nostalgia. It's very popular in city magazines. We've liked looking back on Bull Island. Many of you remember that. Also, another tragic story, but it's very much an Evansville story, the life of Ray Ryan, who perished here in 1977 in a car bomb with ties to organized crime. So we have spent time looking at those kinds of stories.
People love nostalgia, I would say, more than anything else that we deal with. We get more letters, more phone calls, and greater participation in terms of story pitches with nostalgia than anything else.
We love writing about our local philanthropies and charities, and appreciate you all keeping us informed on what you all are doing, and our phone lines remain open for that, of course. COVID, that was a different time for us, just as it was for many of you. We produced 3 issues during COVID from home, and one of the neat things we did was a section on porch portraits. We couldn't really schedule photo sessions with story subjects up close and personal, so we put the word out that we would love to take a picture of your family on your porch, and our photographer went out and did that.
I was the one that went to the office, and I had to do the mail every day. But those of you who've been to our office know that we have an affinity for plants, and I still to this day do not water the plants anymore, because for however many months that was, I had to water them all. So.
Travel is important to city magazines. We sometimes get to go on some nice little press junkets sort of things. But
you do?
Yes, that's true. But we do like to share our travel stories in hopes that they inspire you. And they do inspire you. We have run in the Snapshots section of the magazine 1,736 snapshots of you all in exotic locations, not so exotic locations, all kinds of cool locations, holding copies of the magazine. Pardon me.
Anybody in here been in Snapshots before? Anybody?
All right, yes, some hands, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Henderson didn't count, Randy, but we ran it anyway.
Interns, we've had interns galore. We have Brody here today. We've actually had now Brody is number 132, I believe, and we also have 133. You're looking at some of our interns. One of them is here today. Jessica Hoffman was one of our first interns.
Number 2. Wave
yes,
to Jessica.
Number 2. And she's still here with us today. She's our senior account executive.
Sometimes just having somebody in the chair with a pulse is better than not. So congratulations on the great job you've done for me the last 24 years, Jessica.
We've produced 152 magazines. I thought we could stack them all up and tape them together or something like that, but thank heavens we do have real creative professionals that know that you need to do that in chunks and then Photoshop it. But we thought that was a cool way to visualize the magazines. As you all know, we're the center of the world. I mean, I just said we went to Denver, and someone wanted to talk about Evansville. You guys know when you travel, almost always something happens where there's an Evansville connection. So we like to just say we're the center of the world, and we like serving that center.
It's been
here.
unbelievable, though, the places that we have gone and traveled to, or Chris has gone, where there's almost always an Evansville connection. So.
thank you all. You're looking at our staff in that picture down on the riverfront in front of our office. And we really appreciate you having us here today. And I think we do have just a very few minutes probably for questions as Lee has directed. So we're happy to have any questions or ideas thrown at us here before we close. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ashley.
Yes, sir. How are you doing,
Ashley's
Larry?
got a microphone too.
Okay, so
Oh, boy.
I know. I wouldn't have missed this. You guys are awesome. It's already been said. You're such an asset to our
Well, thank
community,
you,
and I love you
Stacy.
both. One of the things I've loved about your office and your staff, and for those of you guys who don't know Todd very well, he loves practical jokes, and I love it when they have turned the tables and done practical jokes on Todd. So I'm thinking of one in particular with the picture that one of the staff members found of him in his tennis outfit.
Yes,
From high
my
school
senior
with the
high
short
school.
shorts and the high tube socks. You want to tell that story?
Yes, they had an opportunity to meet with my high school principal, who may not remember me as fondly as I remember him, but it was not a flattering picture of probably 130-pound guy back then. I weigh 135 now, but wearing really bad short shorts and the tube socks all the way up to the knees, with the I guess it looked like just somebody stuck a mop on my head. So not a good look. And Stacy, since you asked such a nice question, I will not say anything nasty about Purdue right now. Oh, mine still has some black in it.
Yes, sir.
My question is, do you have a digital edition of your magazine?
Great. Thank you for asking that, because as much as I've been on the soapbox about digital, I didn't talk very much about it here. We do, and it's free. We don't have any sort of paywall on our website, evansvilleliving.com. Most articles exist on the website, as well as on the website there's a digital ebook that you can flip through the magazine just like you would in print.
Obviously,
Thank you.
Obviously, magazines have gone many times only digital, particularly when the trade associations in Evansville. I've lost my argument that they've gone all digital, particularly as a significant advertiser, and maybe my age, but I have a hard time with digital, and some magazines that's gone digital, I just don't read them at all. And what's your feeling on, like, newsstands have almost disappeared in the supermarkets and various places. It does look like they're coming back a little bit. How do you all feel about digital in general with magazines and distribution, publication, and coverage and acceptance?
Thank you, sir.
Well, you're correct that she is definitely, there's definitely been, we look at it more as print and digital. It's not one versus the other, that the two can work together very nicely. What we have found, we're an audited publication. We spend a lot of money every 2 years to be audited, and less than 1% of our readership like to read the issue online, more so than in print. It's a lot of the national magazines have gone to digital only. I think the reason that we still have been able to do well in print and thrive is, as I mentioned earlier, you can't get those stories anywhere else. They don't exist anywhere else. But we are very, very mindful of digital, obviously, and as I said a minute ago, boy, is my wife on the soapbox about that. So.
You mentioned newsstands, sir. We do have the magazines at Barnes & Noble, Schnucks, Meyer, many, more than several dozen local sort of boutique gift shops, certainly the local bookshops, my brother's bookstore, and the one near U of E as well. And we're organic in that a fellow who used to be Todd's drum instructor, he's also our
He
circulation.
doesn't want anybody to know that, I guarantee you.
He's our circulation
literally.
coordinator, and he's the one that takes magazines out to the newsstands. So we don't work with the big company that does that for us. We're very organic and homegrown in that regard. Newsstands are still real important to us.
But you take somebody that's really cheap, like a Rob Bernardin there, they don't have to subscribe. They can just read it on,
Y'all didn't come
read it
here for
online.
that.
So I meant that in the nicest way, Rob. I did.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
Really appreciate it.